All right, welcome to this video. So today I am going to teach you guys about writing quadratic equations. So we've learned about the three types: vertex, standard, and intercept form. But for today's notes, we're going to actually learn about how to write these equations given only certain pieces of information. And then you kind of have to figure out the rest of the pieces by substituting and solving. So here, when it says step 1, the first thing you're going to do is determine which form of the quadratic equation you're going to need to use. So it's either going to be standard, intercept, or vertex. And then step 2 is to substitute the given information and simplify, that's supposed to say simplify, to standard form. So this will probably involve foiling, but we're always going to try and convert to standard form if we can, because that's the most commonly used form. And so it's always easier if we can just convert everything to standard form when we're writing equations. So let's go ahead and get started with example 1. So it says to write the quadratic equation of a vertical parabola with x-intercepts -4, 0, and 5, 0. Also, a equals -1. So step 1 says, what information are you given? And based on that information, which equation are you going to use? Well, we're given x-intercepts. So if I'm given x-intercepts, I should probably use intercept form. And if we remember from those intercept form notes, our basic form of intercept form is y equals a times x minus p times x minus q, where p and q are our x-intercepts. So that's the information. We know we must be using intercept form as to begin with, and then we're going to try and simplify to standard form. So that's step 2. So let's go ahead and plug in what we know. So like I said, our intercept form, I'm just going to rewrite it, is y equals a times x minus p times x minus q. So what I have already is a p and a q. So up here, your x-intercepts, -4 and 5, right? So p is really, well, p is -4, so we know it's going to be the opposite when we plug it into the equation. And q is +5. So again, we know it's going to be opposite. So if we go back down to step 2 and plug in, we have y equals, a was -1, right? We were given that. And then we have x minus p. Well, minus p is minus a -4, so really it's +4. And then x minus q is x minus 5, because q is a +5. So from here, we're going to FOIL, because we're trying to get this into intercept form. So let's go ahead and do that. So we get y equals -1 times, let's FOIL this out, x times x, x squared. X times -5, -5x, 4 times x, +4x, and 4 times 5 is a -20. Simplify. Y equals -1 times x squared. You can combine your -5 and your 4 to just be -x minus 20. And last but not least, we are going to distribute this -1 to each term in the parentheses. So we get y equals -x squared plus x plus 20. Everything is going to change sign. So this is our answer. We have successfully converted to standard form. So we started with intercept form. And we converted to standard form, which is what we wanted to do. Yay. All right. Example 2. Example 2 says, write a quadratic equation for a vertical parabola. So vertical parabola again, when the vertex is at -2, 3, and it passes through the point -4, -1. So step 1, what information are you given, and which equation will you use? Well, I'm given that it's a vertical parabola, and I'm also given a vertex. So if I'm given that it's vertical, and I'm given a vertex, the form I'm going to be using is the vertical vertex form. Which, if we recall, is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. That is our vertical vertex form. So step 2, we're going to substitute and simplify again. Our goal is to get it into standard form. So if I rewrite my basic equation, I have y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Okay, let's substitute what we know. We know that our vertex is at -2, 3. So that's my h and my k. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute those into my equation. So y equals, I don't know my a this time, so I'm going to leave that. And then x minus h, my h is -2. So that turns into plus 2 because that's minus a negative, squared plus my k is 3. So here's where this gets a little bit different, and this is where this point, -4, -1 comes in. What we have to do next is we don't know that a value. So I have to borrow that point, -4, -1, to plug in for my x and my y so that I can plug in and solve for a, because we have no idea what the a is right now, and this is the only way to figure it out. So what you're going to do next is borrow a point, -4, -1, because we know it passes through that point. It says just right up here. We know that's part of the quadratic somewhere. We're going to borrow that to solve for a. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Our x and our y right here. So we're going to plug in. For y, I have -1. So we get -1 equals a times my x is -4 plus 2 squared plus 3. Okay, so let's simplify. We get -1 equals a. -4 plus 2 is -2 squared plus 3. I'm going to continue my work up here because I'm running out of room. Then I get -1 equals -2 squared is 4. So that's 4a plus 3. Last thing I'm going to do, subtract that 3 over. So I get -4 equals 4a. Last but not least, divide by 4 on both sides. And I get -1 equals a. So now I have my a value. Last but not least, I can now plug this a value back in to my original equation right here, and then convert to standard form. So what I'm going to have to do is erase because I've run out of room. So if you need to pause the video and make sure you have all this down, I'm going to erase it all. Okay. So what I need to do, I'm going to erase this part that's highlighting cool, so that I can plug in and convert to standard form. All right. So I get y equals, I know my a is now -1, so that's -x plus 2 squared plus 3. So let's go ahead and solve this out. I'm going to need to FOIL. So y equals negative, this is x plus 2 times x plus 2 plus 3. So if we FOIL, we get y equals -x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4 plus 3 at the end. We're almost there. Y equals -x squared plus 4x plus 4, and then a plus 3 at the end. Distribute that negative, so we get y equals -x squared, -4x, -4 plus 3. So our final answer here is going to end up being y equals -x squared minus 4x, and then we are adding the -4 and the 3. So that's -1. So that's our answer for example 2. I'm going to continue example 3 and example 4 in the next video, so stay tuned.